Hi there. So I'd like to talk today about, well, firstly, I'd like to share something that I went through. It was about 17 years ago, which makes me feel really old. But yeah, so I was at school at the time. I was in sixth form, I think. Probably about 16, 17, and my brother, so I have two younger brothers. My middle brother introduced me to this guy, this musician, called Jeff Buckley, and he said, "Oh, I've found this album. Check it out. It's really good." And so I gave it a listen, and I really liked it, and I listened to it again and again, and it got to a point where I became obsessed with this guy and with his music, and I was I listened to his other albums. I read his a biography on his life. I watched like documentaries about him. I joined like an online forum which was based upon him. I even went to like a tribute for him and met with other people there who were also obsessed with this guy, and it was crazy. It was like, looking back, I think like how could I why how could I have done that? But at the time, I wasn't fully aware. I was almost just like, kind of sucked into this and drawn into this. And looking back now, I can clearly see what it was I was doing, but at the time, I wasn't really fully aware. So looking back now, I can see that I was worshiping this guy. I was idolizing this guy. I was thinking about him and just obsessing over him, and it just like it went way too far. And like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with like enjoying some music or listening to an album, but to become so obsessed with something and to put it before anything else, and just to be spending all your time doing that, it is wrong, and it's idolatry. And so it took me a long time to for God really to set me free from that and to come free of that. And it now that I am free, and now that God has set me free from that, it's I can look back and I can see that what I was doing, and I can see how other times in my life how I've done that in that with other things. And so I'd like to start off with this verse from Revelation chapter 19. And so this is after John had received a lot of the revelation from God, and and so it then says, so in chapter 19 verse 9, it says, "And the angel said to me, write this: blessed are those who are invited to the wedding feast of the Lamb." And he added, "These are true words that come from God." Then I fell down at his feet to worship him. But he said, "No, don't worship me. I'm a servant of God, just like you and your brothers and sisters who testify about their faith in Jesus. Worship only God. For the essence of prophecy is to give a clear witness for Jesus." And so John had seen this angel, this supernatural being that was that was probably like nothing he'd ever seen or experienced before. And so seeing something so powerful, and so filled with God's glory, it was very tempting for him to. It was very tempting, and he like started worshiping this being, and the being was like, "No, no, don't worship me. I'm a servant just like you. Yes, I may look different to you, and I may look like a god in a way compared to what you're used to seeing, but I'm still a servant just like you, and it's only worship God, only worship God." And so he was making it very clear. And there's other times similar things happened in other parts of the Bible where an angel appeared, and people started then worshiping the angel, and the angel's like, "No, no, don't worship me." Now some angels won't do this. You have good angels, you have bad angels, you have angels that will say, "No, no, don't worship me, only worship God." There'll be angels that will say, "Yeah, worship me," and these are obviously angels that are opposed to God, that are not on his side. These are fallen angels. um and so, but anyway, going back to worship. So worship it says here, worship only God. He is the only one we should worship. But it's so tempting to worship created things. our worship should only be for the Creator, the one who created us, the one who created everything. We should never worship the things that were created. But it's very tempting, because the things that God made, the things that God created, are beautiful, are incredible, are wonderful. Things like women, for example. You get very beautiful women, and when you see a woman that is so beautiful, it's so hard, it's so tempting, and it's like to worship that woman because she's so beautiful. Or, for example, sex. It's an incredible thing that God has made, but it's so easy to worship that. Other created things that we could worship could be, so angels, for example, or the sun. Many people for many years used to worship the sun. And I mean, the sun it's incredible. It's like, wow, so much light, something so big and powerful, and that gives us light, that enables plants to grow, and all the things the sun does. It's tempting not to worship that. And there's so many examples of things. It could be a celebrity, or like a musician. So for example, you could listen to a song and you think, wow, this song is just incredible. And this music is just like, wow, it's so beautiful, it's so like moving. And then you could quite easily slip into actually worshipping the person who made the music. But the thing is, like, who made that person? Who gave him the gifts and the talents and the skills to write that music? Who gave him the inspiration? All of these things come from God, and he's the source. So he's the source of all these things. So he is the one we should worship, and we should never worship anything else. Yes, it's tempting, because ultimately these things come from him, but we can't see God. We can see the musicians, we can see the celebrities, we can see the sun, we can see certain things, and it's very tempting to worship the things we can see, as opposed to worshipping a God we can't see. And so I think that's where the danger lies. It's worshipping the things we can see, as opposed to worshipping the God who we can't see. Now we can see God in creation. We can see in a beautiful piece of music, you can see evidence of a creator. We can see evidence of God in the people that he has made, the beauty that he is in his creation. We can see evidence of the creator, but we can't see the creator himself. So it's so important that we don't get trapped, don't fall into that trap of worshipping the things that God has made rather than the creator himself. For example, if an artist painted a beautiful painting, it would be easy to give glory to that painting itself and think, well, this is what it's like. It's like saying, well, this painting is incredible. Like, but to actually then forget, actually, well, it's not, the painting didn't make itself. It was created. It was painted by the artist. The artist is the one who should get the praise and the glory, and it's the same principle. God is the one who made all things. He's the one who made us, and he's the only one who's worthy of our praise. We are created to worship. God made us. We are made to worship, and so we can't help it. We that's what we're made to worship, and so we naturally worship things. It's not something we can stop, really. It's if we were created, it's like if you have a kettle. A kettle was made to boil water. That's its function. That's all it does, and you wouldn't use it for something else. It's the same with us. We were created to worship, and so that's why people will always worship something. Many people say,